Mauser.
What do Winston Churchill, Semyon Budyonny, and Han Solo have in common? The C96. Mauser. Despite the name, Mauser himself did not actually develop it. That was done by the workers of his company, the Federle brothers, all three of them in 1895, and in 1897 its serial production began. Over 1 million genuine C96 pistols were produced. This pistol, in a modern understanding, doesn't quite fit into its class. A holster, stock, long barrel, and powerful cartridge made it something in between, a hybrid between a pistol and a carbine, if you will. Today such weapons are not very popular, but in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, they were needed by explorers, travelers, the first airplane pilots, and many other professions where you never knew who you might have to defend yourself from. One day it's wild animals, and the next it could be modern-day soldiers. This pistol was built around the 7.63 by 25mm cartridge, which is more similar to the rifle cartridge than the pistol one. It has a bottlenecked shape and very high power, a muzzle velocity of 425 meters per second and a muzzle energy of 490 joules. In Russia, this cartridge is primarily known thanks to the 7.62 by 25mm TT cartridges. The TT cartridges were essentially made as an adaptation of the Mauser cartridges for Soviet production. And initially, they were called that, but prolonged military use led to a reduction in the cartridge's power, and today for shooting from a C96, I will be using TT cartridges with a reduced powder charge specifically for this purpose. Otherwise, the old pistol might not withstand it, you understand. The Marshal of the Soviet Union, upon seeing a Stalhelm, a Wehrmacht helmet like this, would surely have taken aim with his Mauser and probably emptied more than one magazine into it. So is the Mauser capable of shooting through a Wehrmacht helmet? By the way, the safety is implemented in a peculiar way, meaning this way it's ready to fire, but this way it's not. Bam, no shot is fired. We pull it back, and this way it will fire. A Bolo, Bolshevik Mauser, can be distinguished by these cuts and the hook at the bottom. It's absent in the regular Mauser. The weight of the Mauser itself is 1 kilogram and 250 grams without cartridges. It holds 6 rounds in the magazine and 1 is loaded into the chamber, so 7 if you will. Your word, Comrade Mauser.
Waffenfabrik Mauser Oberndorfen.
I didn't understand the word, but it's very intriguing. But you can feel the spirit of the time. Stalhelm. Let's see what happened to you. Look at this. I intentionally aimed upwards at a tangent. By the way, it shoots very accurately because the sighting mechanism seems very well designed here. The bullet enters the upper part and practically penetrates the back wall of the helmet. That's very impressive. Let's see if it will pierce through 2 Stalhelms if I place them one behind the other. The pistol looks strange to the modern eye. Back then, it also appeared unusual, but the layout with the grip protruding backwards was characteristic of revolvers. The Mauser is loaded with a stripper clip, similar to a rifle, but today we don't have a clip, so we will load manually 1 cartridge at a time. Experienced shooters can shoot quite accurately at 150-200 meters with the Mauser, thanks to the stock and a long barrel. But I don't have a stock today, so I'll be shooting handheld. Here's another funny thing. There's a sight here for 1,000 meters. Did someone actually plan to shoot from it at that distance? The Allies, equipped with Stalhelm helmets, fully experienced the destructive power of the Mauser. It enters the temporal lobe and exits through the other side, very effective indeed. Look, it broke through, because it's at 90 degrees. And the second, pinker one, also suffered. But, fortunately, it survived. He got lucky. By the way, when the first bullet entered, due to this convex shape, it essentially ricocheted upwards. It only broke through slightly here. Well, powerful weapon, that's for sure. I don't know, if they were shooting with a modern-day 7.62 by 25mm tool like Tokarev, it would have been even harder to survive. Alright, now let's see if we can catch a 7.62 by 25 bullet in our ballistic gelatin, which you all love. 7.63 by 25 in its original casing. Let's place it on top of our tank. In slow-mo, you can see the bullet's trajectory changes and it goes downwards. Hits the helmet, and through the lower part where there's already a hole, the 7.62 falls out and spins a few times. Look, this is very cool. I've never seen anything like it. I wanted it to happen exactly like this, and now I want to shoot a few more times and see what happens to this gel and this, I wanted to say, hat. Since we don't have a stripper clip, we have to hold the bolt manually and slowly load the cartridges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bam. And we're in business. Shit! Look, the imitation of human tissue, though it looks like jelly, but a wound channel is very clear, deep, and see, I hit almost the same spot twice. The destructive power of the gelatin on the bullet, and by the way, it hardly deforms. Let's see what's happening. The last few shots I fired from the Mauser C96, and the bullets spinned inside and flew back. One fell near the tank, and one ended up here. Look, it's barely deformed, just slightly at the back, but it's very interesting. Live from the Inferno kitchen, it's Mauser versus Titanium Body Armor 6B3TM, as it's called. It's one of the first body armors to use titanium plates. Titanium here is presented in the form of these square cells, slightly rounded, presumably to deflect bullets. So let's check if the Mauser, hailing from the First World War, can destroy one of the first titanium body armors. Let's place it like this. By the way, check out this moment. One round is chambered, but the second one hasn't loaded yet. And this is what we get. You might say the 6B3TM couldn't withstand the impact, but there's one nuance. We were actually shooting at the titanium plates that are placed in the front with the PTRD. And this is the back, which is designed for shrapnel. Nobody expects you to be shot in the back, you're not running away, you're a Soviet soldier after all. In slow-mo we see that the ballistic gel is rippling, which means that the plates were pierced. Let's see what actually happened. So, here we see several hits. Clearly they went through, and clearly the titanium plates themselves couldn't withstand such an impact. Our first shot was to the upper part. Let's open it and have a look. No compromises. The titanium plate is pierced. The upper and the lower one as well. I'm pulling it out, look, it's torn. Well, it's understandable they would be pierced, especially since this is the rear anti-fragmentation part. Let's see what happened to the gel. Look, it crumbled the gel nicely. And I see... What do I see? Oh, look what I see. I see one bullet that has delaminated. Or is it its jacket? Ah, it's the jacket. And you know what happened to the bullet? The bullet remained inside. Here it is, look. I don't have our signature knife today. The bullets embedded in the gel ricocheted off the tank and came back. Here it is actually. Look, we already had shrapnel from the mines. Now we have a bullet. Here, it got stuck and it looks just like it did originally. One bullet. Here's another one. Look how beautifully it froze. Beautiful! Guys, do you agree that it's really cool that we now have ballistic gel? This one, by the way, is denser than the previous one. It froze right up. Froze and flattened. We're moving forward with the Mauser's penetration. I took 5 titanium plates and embedded them in the ballistic gelatin to see if it can penetrate them and how many it can go through. A single plate was easily pierced, but how many plates are pierced when they're stacked together? What if I told you, not a single one? Look at what we got going on. The first plate takes the brunt of the impact. The gel and the plates absorb the energy. The second one is slightly dented, and the third is slightly dented. But the remaining 2 are absolutely intact. So, if you combined 2 plates, you would be totally fine. And Comrade Mauser would have his say, of course, but it wouldn't be the final word. It's quite extraordinary to hold a weapon that's over 100 years old, one that has gone through several world wars, that easily pierces helmets, early Soviet body armor, and I certainly understand Budyonny, Han Solo, and Winston Churchill. This is heavy caliber ruckus, and by the way, if you'd like, there's a sight adjustment here for up to 1,000 meters, so you can hit something over 1 kilometer away, theoretically. If you leave a comment saying that you really want to see this, we will bring back the Mauser C96 and put it to the test. This is heavy caliber ruckus, stay tuned, things will get even more interesting.